There is a sacred rhythm to this universe, a pulse, a silent intelligence that governs all things. You see it in the tides that rise without prompting, in the stars that burn without striving, in the seasons that shift not with force but with flow. And just as the ocean never questions how it shall return to shore, and the moon never asks how it shall reflect the sun, you, beloved soul, were never meant to bear the burden of how. You were not created to micromanage miracles. You were never asked to figure it all out. The oak tree never asks how it will grow. Its only task is to allow the seed to surrender to soil. And so must you let the infinite intelligence that breathed you into existence carry the unfolding of your path. The ego will tell you that you must control, plan, strategize, hustle, outmaneuver life itself. It shouts from the rooftops, you must know the way, you must master the how. But the soul, oh, the soul whispers something softer, something holier. The soul says, trust, release, let the universe handle the how. When you surrender your insistence on controlling every detail, you make space for the divine to work miracles in dimensions your mind could never comprehend. You create room for synchronicity, for alignment, for grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow. Consider the caterpillar. It does not construct blueprints for wings. It does not draft flight plans. It simply follows the ancient call within and enters the stillness of the cocoon. It dissolves into formlessness, into the unknown, and in that sacred surrender, it becomes something new. It does not handle the how. It trusts the process. So must you trust. Let go of the tight grip. Let go of the timelines. Let go of the compulsive need to make sense of the mystery. You were never meant to carry the how. You were meant to carry the faith. And this is not weakness, it is wisdom. There is a humility that comes when you realize the same force that spins galaxies is already orchestrating your life. There is peace in knowing you are not the architect of every detail. You are the vessel through which divine order flows. Your job is not to force doors open. Your job is to knock and listen, to dream and allow, to show up and surrender. You were born of stardust and breathed into form by the same source that crafted oceans and galaxies. Do you not think that this source knows your needs? Do you not feel that it holds your heart with more tenderness than any plan your mind could make? Stop trying to map out the mountain when the path reveals itself one step at a time. Stop measuring the distance between here and there when the journey was never about distance, it was about depth. The unfolding was never linear, it was sacred. Designed to bring you home to the present moment where all power lives. When you let go of how, you remember who. You are not the planner. You are the participant. You are not the conductor. You are the music. You are not the architect of the mystery. You are the dance. And the more you release your grip, the more life begins to surprise you with blessings you didn't anticipate and pathways you never imagined. Because the universe is not limited by your logic. It speaks in dreams and symbols and perfect divine disorder that leads you exactly where you are meant to go. So often we pray and then panic. We ask for signs and then try to script them. But the sacred does not respond to anxiety. It responds to surrender. The flowers do not bloom by pushing through the soil with force. They bloom by allowing the light to reach them. You do not heal by understanding every step of healing. You heal by allowing what is to be enough. And that means sometimes not knowing how the money will come, how the relationship will unfold, how the dream will be fulfilled, but choosing to believe anyway, because belief is the soil where miracles grow, faith is the water, and surrender is the sunlight. When you let the universe handle the how, your energy shifts from desperation to devotion, from striving to receiving, from noise to knowing. And in that shift, life rearranges. You become the lighthouse, not the lifeboat. You stop chasing and start attracting. Not through manipulation, but through magnetism. Not because you grasped harder, but because you released deeper. This is the secret. The moment you stop demanding how, the universe whispers now. Now is where the door opens. Now is where the peace returns. Now is where your breath becomes a prayer. Your presence becomes power, and your path begins to shimmer with unseen hands guiding every step. You were never alone in this. You were never abandoned. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was a detour into greater alignment. Every unanswered prayer was the universe's way of saying, I have something better. But you must stop resisting the not knowing. The ego hates uncertainty. It fears the mystery. But the soul is born of mystery. It thrives in the unknown. It sings in the silence between answers. And you, my beloved, are a soul, not a role. You are not here to decode the cosmos. You are here to dissolve into it, to trust that your heartbeat is part of a rhythm older than time, to surrender your fear at the altar of divine intelligence and say, I do not know how, but I am willing. I do not see the way, but I will walk in trust. I do not control the outcome, but I choose to believe in something higher, something wiser, something infinitely loving. And in that choice, your life begins to shimmer with the miraculous. The right people show up. The perfect opportunities align. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with their frequency by releasing the fear that you had to make it all happen alone. You were never meant to carry that weight. You are not Atlas. You are the sky. And the sky never asks how it will hold the stars. It simply holds. So be the sky. Let the universe hold the how. And you hold the vision. Let the how belong to the infinite. Let the timing belong to the divine. Let the outcome belong to source. And you beautiful, powerful infinite, you let yourself be held. And it shall be done. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. And now that you've surrendered the weight of how, something begins to stir quietly, subtly, like the first golden light before dawn. A remembering, not of a new concept, but of an ancient truth that has always been within you, waiting beneath the noise of control and effort. That truth whispers not of doing, but of being, not of conquering life, but of cooperating with its sacred rhythm. It is here, in this surrendered space, that the miracle of your own existence reveals itself not as a task to fulfill, but as a gift to receive. The breath you take now was not engineered by worry. The beating of your heart was not planned by logic. They are the silent poetry of life saying, I've got you. When you step back from the mechanics of control, you begin to feel this soft current of grace pulling you always toward your higher self. There is no need to chart the wind when you are the sail in the sea. Life was never a problem to solve. It is a mystery to experience. And the more you lean into this, the more you realize the doors you tried to force open were never locked. They were waiting for your stillness to find the key within. That key is not control. It is alignment. It is presence. It is the quiet power of saying yes to what is without needing to redesign it. What if your unanswered questions are not punishments, but pauses placed with precision to awaken a deeper listening? What if the delays are divine pauses, soft hands holding you back, not to deny you, but to guide you towards something greater than your plans could contain? The caterpillar doesn't resist the stillness of the cocoon because something in its nature trusts the silence. So must you trust the space between intention and manifestation. That space is sacred. It is where the unseen does its holy work, where your energy, your vision, and the great intelligence of the universe weave a tapestry not visible to your eyes, but palpable to your spirit. It is where the seeds of your desire are whispered to the soil of the infinite and watered by your surrender. And if you find yourself in the in-between, in that mysterious silent place where nothing seems to move, bless it. Do not rush it. Do not judge it. That pause is not empty. It is full of divine activity. Just as winter conceals the promise of spring beneath the frozen ground, so too does your stillness conceal miracles not yet ready for the light. Allow them to ripen. You are not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for you to stop doubting, to stop questioning the process, to stop interrupting grace with impatience. Because when you try to outpace the divine, you outrun the very blessings that are being arranged for you. Let your trust become stronger than your timeline. Let your peace be greater than your plan. And watch how the universe begins to move, not because you demanded, but because you aligned, not with strain, but with surrender. You were never meant to be the puppet master. You are the instrument. And when you are in tune with the music of the infinite, life plays through you effortlessly. You don't need to orchestrate the symphony. You only need to stay open and attuned to the melody that is always playing beneath the surface. Let your prayer no longer be, show me how, but instead, make me ready, make me available. Let me become the kind of vessel through which the miracle can pour, because the miracle is never outside of you. It is never delayed. It is only waiting for the space you create when you release the demand to know. And in that release, in that sacred breath of surrender, the dance begins. Without steps, without structure, just flow, just love, just the radiant unfolding of a life lived not from will but from wonder. And wonder, dear soul, is your birthright. So here you are, open now in a way you may not have known before, not striving, not solving, but simply softening. And in this softening, something shifts, not just within you, but around you. The energy you bring to the world becomes a quiet magnetism, not through assertion, but through attunement. Life no longer feels like a mountain to climb, but a river to join, and you no longer the swimmer gasping for control, become the current itself. This is the grace of surrender, not a falling apart, but a falling in, into truth, into stillness, into the sacred embrace of what already island. You begin to notice that what you once called uncertainty is actually spaciousness. What you once named confusion is merely the absence of ego's voice. In that silence, the soul speaks not in sentences, but in sensations, not in answers, but in alignment. And the message is always the same: you are not lost. You are being guided, not by maps, but by resonance, not by blueprints, but by the quiet tug of your own heart when it remembers the way home. And the way home is never paved with guarantees. It is lit by the lamp of faith carried not in the hand, but in the breath. Faith not as belief in outcomes, but as trust in essence. The kind of trust that says, even this has meaning. The kind that blesses the detour, that smiles at the delay, that walks the foggy path with eyes closed and heart wide open. Because what you truly seek is never on the other side of certainty, it is on the other side of surrender. And so, when you feel the urge to control rising like a storm, place your hand gently on your heart and whisper to yourself, let the wind move me, because the wind knows. The wind that shaped mountains and carved valleys carries your dreams too, not with pressure but with purpose, not with force but with faith. And oh, the beauty of a life entrusted to that wind. It doesn't move in straight lines. It doesn't always explain itself, but it moves with wisdom, with compassion, with infinite timing. And in that movement, it sculpts you not into what the world expects, but into what your soul has always been. You begin to feel less like a seeker and more like a vessel, less like someone searching and more like someone surrendering to be found. You no longer push to manifest, you open to receive. And that receiving is not a passive act. It is the most courageous thing you will ever do, to be open, to be soft, to be guided by something larger than logic and kinder than fear. For in this sacred openness, you remember, it is not your job to chase, it is your role to become, not to become worthy, not to become more, but to become aligned with the unspoken truth that everything conspires in your favor when you no longer insist that it follow your script. Release the script, release the performance, release the idea that success is measured in outcomes, and start feeling the truth that success is alignment with your own spirit. That is the real prosperity. Not in what arrives, but in how deeply you trust before it does. Not in what is built, but in what is remembered while you wait. And as you walk through this life with that remembrance, you become unshakable, not because you are invulnerable, but because you are surrendered. Because your foundation is not built on circumstances, but on consciousness. Not on outcomes, but on oneness. And in that oneness, beloved, you are never alone. You are carried. You are held. You are guided not by what you understand, but by what you feel when you stop trying to understand. This is the divine choreography. And your only part is to show up in love and let the universe handle the how. And so the path unfolds not by force of will, but by the quiet unfolding of your willingness to trust. The sky does not reveal the entire journey to the sun. It opens moment by moment, cloud by cloud, ray by ray. And just like the sky, your life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a canvas that reveals its beauty only when you stop trying to paint the whole picture in one stroke. The soul does not need deadlines. It needs depth. It needs space to breathe, to listen, to feel its way forward without the pressure of performance. Because beneath all your goals, all your striving, all your questions about timing and direction, there is something even more important, awakening a relationship with the divine that no outcome could replace. You are learning the art of sacred partnership, not just with people, but with life itself. It is not a transactional relationship, it is a devotional one. You are not bartering with the universe, you are becoming one with it. And in that oneness, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life stops feeling like a struggle to overcome and starts feeling like a conversation. A whispering dialogue between your heart and the heart of the universe. Every intuition becomes a message. Every longing becomes a doorway. Every silence becomes a sanctuary where divine instruction pours in without words. You no longer ask, what should I do, but instead, who am I being? Because the answer is always found not in action alone, but in embodiment. Be the peace before peace arrives. Be the love before it is returned. Be the abundance before it is visible. And when you become it, truly become it, the need to control how it comes dissolves. You realize that what you're attracting is not being summoned by force, but by frequency. This is the shift, from manipulation to magnetism, from needing life to obey you, to dancing with it as an equal, from resisting the flow to riding it with reverence. And the more you trust, the more the signs begin to multiply, not because the universe wasn't speaking before, but because now you are finally listening. You're no longer looking for neon answers. You're paying attention to the whisper of a leaf falling at your feet, the way a stranger's kindness mirrors your prayer, the perfect timing of a song that reminds you you're not alone. And that, dear soul, is not coincidence. It is confirmation. It is the echo of the divine saying, you are on the path. Keep walking. I've got the how. Let that truth settle into your bones. Let it become your inner compass when the world feels uncertain. You don't need a forecast when you are grounded in faith. You don't need clarity in the sky when you've cultivated stillness in your soul. And from that stillness, watch how life begins to respond, not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped pushing entirely. You let go of the reins and let the current carry you not into chaos, but into coherence with the rhythm that formed you. This is not abandonment of responsibility. It is the assumption of your highest responsibility, to be in harmony with the source from which all things arise, to know that you are not the doer, but the doorway. And through that doorway, everything flows. Not always according to your plan, but always according to your purpose. So trust this flow, sacred traveler. Let your life be a living prayer, not of performance, but of presence. Let your breath be your agreement with life. Let your heart be your offering. And let the mystery unfold as it always has, not on your schedule, but in your soul's divine timing. Because the universe is not waiting for your control. It is waiting for your surrender. And when you finally give it, not just with your words, but with your being, you will find yourself not at the destination you imagined, but at the exact place your spirit has always longed to be. Whole, held, home, and so you walk not with haste, but with holiness. Not because the road is clear, but because your heart is finally soft enough to be guided without needing to know what's next. You are no longer the stormer of gates, you are the keeper of peace. And in this peace, your life becomes a silent revolution, not of action, but of essence. You are beginning to realize that you do not create reality by wrestling with it, but by resonating with it, by becoming the energy you wish to receive. By living in harmony with the unseen patterns that govern the stars in your soul alike, you no longer seek to bend life to your will. You seek to bend inward to the will of life. And here, where surrender becomes strength, you begin to move differently. You speak with more silence between your words. You love with less fear wrapped around your giving. You pray not with pleading, but with presence. Because now you know that you are not being tested, you are being trusted. Trusted to carry the light within you without explanation or applause. This is the quiet power that moves mountains, not because it fights them, but because it no longer sees them as obstacles. It sees them as teachers. It knows that every delay is not denial, but divine redirection. Every not yet is a seed gestating in the dark. Every no is preparing you for a greater yes that only grace can author. And when your ego mourns what it cannot control, your soul rejoices because it knows that the relinquishing of control is the invitation for miracles. So keep walking, keep breathing, keep trusting, even when nothing makes sense. Especially then, because it is in the darkness of unknowing that the stars of divine guidance shine the brightest. Do not fear the quiet chapters. They are where the foundations of your next becoming are poured. Do not rush the process. You are not behind. The river of life has no schedule, only sacred flow. You are not here to earn your place. You are here to embody your place. And when you do, when you surrender your resistance, your urgency, your demand for clarity, what arrives is not what you imagined. It is better, it is truer, it is authored not by fear, but by love. And that love has never forgotten you. It never required your perfection. It only waited for your permission. The moment you said, I don't need to know how, the universe replied, now you're ready to receive. And receive you shall not because you forced it, but because you became it. Because you finally stepped out of the way and let the infinite take the lead. And so, beloved soul, this is the sacred turning point. The moment where the story stops being about what you do and starts being about who you are. Not the mask, not the plan, but the presence, the light. The open vessel through which the music of the universe can now play its most beautiful song. This is the end of the search. This is the beginning of trust. This is the moment you let the universe handle the how. And this is the freedom you have always been seeking. And now that you have arrived at this threshold, not a finish line, but a sacred opening, you are invited to go even deeper, deeper than belief, deeper than hope, into the holy ground of knowing. Not the knowing of the mind, which is built on facts and forecasts, but the knowing of the soul, which needs no evidence, no outcome, no permission. It simply knows because it is already one with the source. This knowing lives in the quiet places where the world forgets to look. It lives in the breath you didn't try to take but were given anyway. In the tears you shed when you realized you no longer had to perform. In the peace that enters the room, not because you achieved something, but because you released something. The soul has always known that trying to orchestrate every detail was never your job. It waited patiently for the moment when your grip would loosen and your trust would rise like incense into the heavens. This is the beauty of letting the universe handle the how, not as a tactic, but as a transformation. You are not trading in one set of burdens for another. You are unburdening completely. You are laying down the armor of strategy, the weight of timelines, the heavy cloak of needing to know, and in their place, you pick up something lighter than air faith. Pure, untethered, unconditional faith. The kind that doesn't ask, is it working, but says, it already island. And this is not naivety. This is clarity. This is not escaping life, it is entering it fully for the first time. Because until now, you were dancing on the surface, skipping like a stone across the waters of potential. But the moment you surrendered control, you sank into the depths. You touched the eternal. You stopped trying to swim and let yourself be held. Held not by fate, but by intention, not by chance, but by design. You are not the result of random events. You are a soul with a curriculum, a sacred assignment, a divine unfolding that cannot be rushed and does not need to be deciphered, only received. The mind may still try to interrupt, but what if it doesn't happen? What if it all falls apart? And to that the soul smiles, because the soul knows that the only thing that can fall apart is the illusion, the false certainty, the rigid structure of plans born from fear. What remains, what endures, is the truth. And truth never needs to be protected. It only needs to be lived. And so you walk on not to chase, but to cherish. Each step now is not a calculation, but a communion. Each moment is not a checkpoint, but a cathedral. You begin to speak with less noise and more weight. You begin to show up not to convince, but to connect. You begin to realize that your vibration is your message. Your peace is your power. Your very presence is your prayer. You no longer beg life to deliver. You bless it as an island. And in that blessing, something sacred occurs. Life begins to mirror your inner posture. The more you lean back into trust, the more the universe leans in to meet you. The more you soften, the more the path unfolds. Without maps, without force, without strength. Not because you made it happen, but because you finally allowed it. This is what happens when you step into your divine alignment. Doors open because your energy is no longer locked in resistance. People appear because your presence has become magnetic. Ideas flow because your mind is no longer congested with fear. You are not waiting for life to bless you. You are realizing that you are the blessing. You are the answered prayer of 1,000 unseen forces. You are the flowering of generations of wisdom, love, and unseen hands guiding you to this very breath. There is nothing missing. There is only the unfolding of what already island. And now, each day becomes less about what you do and more about how you be. Can you be still in the chaos? Can you be love in the unknown? Can you be trust when the outcome is hidden. These are the true markers of growth, not the trophies, not the check boxes, but the quiet resilience of a heart that is surrendered to the sacred mystery. And mystery is not the absence of meaning, it is the abundance of it. It is the vastness that reminds you. You do not need to be God. You only need to remember that God is within you. You do not need to have the answers. You only need to ask the right questions. Am I open? Am I aligned? Am I present? Because when you are all three, the how takes care of itself. You are the soil. The divine is the seed. Trust the roots even when you cannot see the fruit. Trust the process even when the harvest feels far. And so this becomes your quiet revolution, not to control, not to predict, but to co-create, to walk with the universe as a beloved partner, not a battlefield commander, to let your life become an open field where miracles are not manufactured but magnetized. Let your prayers no longer be desperate cries for intervention, but gentle invitations to be guided. Let your actions no longer be compulsions born from fear, but expressions of your devotion to the unseen rhythm that always knows what you need even when you don't. And when fear rises, and it will welcome it, do not resist it. Let it come like a wave, let it crash, let it teach you. And then let it return to the sea from which it came, leaving you washed clean in its wake. You are not the fear. You are the witness. You are not the doubt. You are the doorway. And through that doorway flows grace. So rest, dear soul, not in exhaustion, but in reverence. Rest in the knowing that you are not behind, you are not lost, you are not broken. You are simply being prepared, refined, aligned. You are not late. You are right on time for the miracle you stopped trying to manufacture and started allowing. This is the new path, the way of trust, the way of truth. And it begins every time you whisper to life with your breath, your being, your unspoken agreement. I will hold the vision, and I will let the universe handle the how. You are home now. And home is sacred ground. There is a silence within you that predates your first breath. It is not made of sound, nor time, nor memory. It is made of presence. Eternal, unmoving, radiant. And in that silence lives the truth you have spent lifetimes forgetting, only so you might have the holy joy of remembering. That truth is this: God is love, and you, dear soul, are an expression of that. Not a fragment, not a shadow, not a merry echo, but a living, breathing embodiment of divine love wrapped in skin, pulsing through a heart, seeing through eyes, and longing through a soul. You are not separate from the source. You are a wave in the ocean of it, rising for a moment to dance in form before returning again to the infinite. We were never sent here to earn love, but to extend it. Never sent to find God, but to realize that we were never apart. The trees know this. The wind does not doubt its place. The stars do not ask for permission to shine. And yet we in our humanness forget. We begin to believe we are the roles we play. We think we are the name we answer to, the story we survive, the mask we wear to be accepted. But these are garments, temporary, worn and eventually set down. You are not the role. You are the awareness behind it. You are not the body. You are the breath that animates it. You are not the seeker. You are that which is sought. The ego, frightened of its impermanence, will whisper that you must prove yourself. It will say love is something earned with perfection, with effort, with sacrifice. But love that must be earned is not love, it is performance. And performance exhausts the soul. The truth needs no costume, no applause, no approval. It's simply island. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was reminding us of something the mind cannot grasp, but the heart has always known, that God is not a being far away, but a presence so intimate it breathes you, so close it can never leave, so gentle it waits until you are ready to feel it again. And what is that presence? It is love. Not the kind wrapped in conditions, not the kind traded for obedience or behavior, but love without edge, without ending, without expectation. The love that spun galaxies and still has time to cradle your heartbeat. You are not on a journey to become worthy of this love. You are on a journey to surrender to the truth that you already are it. Let us walk deeper now. Let us shed what was never ours, the guilt, the shame, the fear inherited from generations who forgot their light. You do not carry their burden by keeping it. You honor their story by transcending it. The pain you have felt was never punishment. It was the teacher. The initiation, the calling card of your awakening. Each wound was a crack through which the light could whisper, "You are more than this," and so you are. Pause, breathe, and feel the ancient truth that lives beneath the noise of your life. You are love, expressing itself as you. You were not born to fix the world. You were born to love it, to forgive it, to hold it as it is, even while you anchor the truth of what it can become. You were not born to earn your place. You are the place, the temple, the altar, the holy space where the divine bows inward. The Tao teaches us that the greatest power is like water, soft, yielding yet unstoppable. And so is love. And so are you when you remember who you are. There is no force in softness. No need to push when you are in harmony. You do not have to change the world. You only have to change the frequency you offer it. Keep listening, beloved soul. The voice within you that speaks without words is not your imagination. It is your inheritance. It is the current of source guiding you not toward perfection, but toward presence, toward remembering, not reaching. God does not demand from you. God flows through you. As kindness, as compassion, as the warmth you offer a stranger without knowing why. That is the divine, moving without label, unencumbered by dogma, pulsing through the ordinary moments as something extraordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are, and always have been, held by something vast and ancient and real. Something that asks only this: be still long enough to feel me, trust deeply enough to let me move through you, and love fully enough to know that I am what you are. Let this not be a teaching you admire. Let it be a truth you live. And so the breath continues like an eternal tide rising in the sanctuary of your chest. You are not breathing alone. Every inhale is shared with the stars. Every exhale is a whisper from the divine. You are not merely existing. You are communing, participating in a dance choreographed not by effort but by grace. And grace, beloved, is your natural state, not a reward bestowed for obedience. It is what you are made of when all else is stripped away. There is no distance between you and God. That was a story told by fear. That was a lie whispered by the mind addicted to separation. But the heart is always known. It knows that when your hands tremble in prayer or when tears silently fall without explanation, it is not emptiness that you feel. It is fullness so vast your body can barely contain it. It is God rising within you, not arriving from elsewhere. The mind seeks understanding, the soul seeks reunion, and in that reunion there are no questions, only knowing. Not the kind that shouts at certainty, but the quiet kind that needs no defense. The kind that walks through chaos unshaken because it remembers the stillness before the storm and it knows that stillness lives within. Let this remembrance guide you now. Let it melt the hard edges of the life you've been told to fight for. You were not sent here to struggle your way into holiness. You were sent here to awaken to the holiness that was never missing. And holiness does not look like perfection. It looks like presence. It looks like forgiving yourself for not knowing. It looks like holding space for your sorrow without trying to rush its release. It looks like waking up on a broken morning and still choosing to love anyway, not because you feel strong, but because love is what you are. Love is not a feeling. It is your being. And you cannot lose what you are. You can forget it. You can bury it beneath layers of shoulds and shame, but it never leaves. It never abandons you. Even in your darkest night, it waits, patient, still, glowing softly at the center of your being like a candle in a cave. And perhaps you have asked, why don't I feel it? Because, dear soul, love does not force its way in. It waits for your surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. The sacred undoing of all that is not you. The willing release of the masks you've worn to feel safe. The moment you stop trying to be lovable and begin allowing yourself to be loved, everything shifts. The people who cannot meet you may drift away. The illusions may crumble, but what remains will be real. And what is real is enough. You were never meant to chase what you are. Like a flame searching for heat, the search itself is the veil. You are not here to earn access to God. You are here to unveil the God that you carry like breath, silent, unseen, but essential to your being. Do you see now? You are not your striving. You are not your healing journey. You are the space within which the healing happens. You are not the story. You are the silence that surrounds it. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that watches. And that awareness is sacred. It is not limited by form or time or fate. It was here before you had a name. It will remain when the name is gone. That is where God lives, in the infinite space of your true self, untouched by circumstance, unscarred by experience. So be kind to your mind when it forgets. Be gentle with your heart when it aches. They are only trying to return to what they already are. And in that return, there is no need to rush. There is only the invitation to soften. Softness is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. The mountain does not tremble at the wind because it is rooted. And you too can root yourself not in identity, but in essence. Not in belief, but in being. When you stand in your being, the world may swirl around you, but you no longer swirl with it. You remain silent, still, enough. This is the invitation. Not to do more, not to fix yourself, but to remember, to finally remember that you are the breath of God made visible. You are not on the outside of heaven trying to get in. You are the sky it stretches across. You are the ground it touches. You are the love it radiates. And so the journey continues, not forward but inward, not outward into answers but inward into awareness. With every breath, a new beginning. With every silence, a new revelation. And in this sacred unfolding, something ancient stirs within you, older than time, more intimate than thought. It does not arrive with thunder or spectacle, but with the softness of a truth too vast to be spoken. You do not grasp it, you allow it. It emerges like dawn, inevitable, gradual, quietly miraculous. And as it rises, you begin to see not with the eyes in your head, but with the eyes of your soul. Those eyes see beyond appearance, beyond form. They see essence. They see God in everything, in the face of a stranger, in the rhythm of the ocean, in the trembling of your own hands as you touch what is real. God is not hiding. God is not waiting. God is simply being and inviting you to be the same. You are not meant to reach enlightenment. You are meant to dissolve the belief that you are apart from it. Enlightenment is not a peak to climb. It is the moment you sit down, let go, and become what you already are. It is not a reward for the pure. It is the recognition that you were never impure. No act of love is ever wasted. Every moment you choose gentleness over judgment, compassion over control, presence over projection, you are remembering. You are tuning your life to the frequency of God, which is not found in temples of stone, but in the stillness of this very breath, this very moment, this trembling now. There are no ordinary moments. Every second is saturated with divinity. The laugh of a child is not just sound, it is evidence. The rustle of leaves is not just nature, it is God's voice in motion. And your pain, yes, even your pain, is not a mistake. It is the sacred fire that burns away illusion, making space for something real. Do not run from the fire, walk into it. Let it purify, not punish. Let it return you to what cannot be burned. The soul does not fear the flame, it knows it is the light behind it. There is nothing to be ashamed of in your journey. Every fall was a sacred descent into deeper awareness. Every time you were cracked open, you made room for more light. You are not broken, you are breaking free. And this breaking is not the end. It is the blooming, the blossoming of a being who has finally grown tired of pretending, of striving, of trying to win a game no one was meant to play. You are not here to win. You are here to awaken, to remember your own infinite worth, not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. And what you are is love in motion, spirit in form, God in expression. You do not need to find the divine plan. You are the divine plan. Not the plan for perfection or for achievement, but for embodiment, for walking this earth as a living prayer, for becoming the bridge between heaven and the human heart. This is why your presence matters. This is why your life is sacred. Not because it meets a standard, but because it is an unrepeatable expression of the infinite. There is not, and never will be, another you. Not in this exact body, not in this exact breath, not with this exact blend of laughter and longing for home. And oh, how you have longed. You have looked for something eternal in things that perish. You have searched for unconditional love in places that offered it only in exchange. But that ache, that hunger, that yearning was never wrong. It was the compass pointing home, not to a place, but to a state of being, to the sanctuary within you that needs no walls, no words, no validation, only remembrance. So remember now. Remember not with your mind, but with your being. Lay down your need to understand and let yourself feel. Feel what has always been waiting to be felt, the softness beneath your armor, the light behind your eyes, the presence that holds you even when no one else does. You are not defined by what has happened to you. You are not the echo of your pain. You are the space in which healing is possible, the witness to the rising and the falling, the love that remains when all else dissolves. And that love does not speak loudly. It hums, it pulses, it waits patiently at the threshold of your awareness until you are ready to open the door and say yes. Yes to presence, yes to wholeness, yes to a life not ruled by fear but rooted in truth. Truth that says you are not separate. Truth that says you are not lacking. Truth that says you are not forgotten. You are seen, you are loved, you are held. Not because you've earned it, but because that love is the substance of your being. To deny it is to starve your soul. To accept it is to finally come alive. And when you come alive, the world no longer has to change for you to be free. You become the change. You become the stillness in the storm, the peace in the noise. The light that does not demand darkness disappear but shines anyway. Then let us continue deeper still into the boundless sanctuary of your being. For every breath you take now is not just air, it is a sacred permission slip, an invitation to dissolve the walls built by fear and return, not to a past version of yourself, but to the untouched essence that never left. The you that never doubted, never competed, never needed to be chosen because it knew it was the choosing itself. There is a sacred rhythm beneath the distractions of life, a melody that doesn't play through speakers or words, but through the pulse of existence itself. When you slow enough to feel it, not with your ears, but with your awareness, you will know this is the song of the soul. It is not hurried, it is not harsh, it is not seeking an audience. It simply is, flowing with the quiet confidence of truth that has never been shaken, even when you were. You do not need to light a candle to be holy. You do not need to recite the perfect prayer to be heard. The moment you sit in stillness without resistance or performance, the divine knows your name, not the one spoken by others, but the one vibrated by your soul before sound ever existed. And in that stillness, you come to see that there is nothing you must do to become divine. You were born clothed in it. Your laughter, your tears, your sacred confusion, all of it is an extension of that divine essence playing its way through time. God does not demand a polished version of you. God asks only for the real one, the one who stumbles, the one who wonders, the one who dares to feel. The path is not linear, nor should it be. Awakening is not a staircase, it is a spiral, drawing you again and again back to the same truths, not to repeat them, but to recognize them more deeply. Each time you return, it is not because you failed, it is because your soul is ready to hear the same song with new ears. There will be days when the light feels distant, when the silence inside feels like absence, not presence. But even then, especially then, you are not alone. For the divine does not shout. In the noise, it waits in the quiet. It is the unseen hand on your back as you walk into the unknown. It is the calm beneath the quake. It is the breath you didn't know you were holding and the exhale that finally sets you free. You were never asked to be fearless. You were asked to be faithful to trust the invisible thread pulling you forward, even when the path vanishes beneath your feet. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the willingness to walk anyway, to open your heart even as it trembles, to love without condition when every wound says to guard. In that trust, something miraculous happens. Your life begins to unfold, not according to your plans, but according to your truth. And your truth knows things the mind cannot explain. It knows when to rest. It knows when to let go. It knows that what is real does not require clinging, it requires allowing. When you stop gripping life, you begin to feel it, not as a list of tasks to conquer, but as a sacred current that moves through you and with you. No longer a battle, but a river. No longer a test, but a dance. No longer a search, but a remembering. And in that remembering, you soften, not because you are fragile, but because you are rooted. Not because you no longer care, but because you care in a way that no longer needs to control. You discover that peace is not the result of everything going your way. It is the stillness that remains when you let go of needing it to. So walk gently now, not because the world is fragile, but because your awareness of its sacredness has deepened. Speak slowly, not because you doubt, but because every word now carries a vibration of your soul's remembering. Look into the eyes of another and recognize yourself, not the surface self, but the self beneath identity, beneath separation, beneath time. This is the new way of being, not performative, but present. Not impressive, but impactful. not in what you do, but in how you be. And how you be is how God moves through you. There comes a moment, often wrapped in the ordinariness of a sunrise or the silence between thoughts, when you realize that nothing needs to change for everything to change. That moment is not the result of effort, but of surrender, not a giving up, but a giving in to the truth that has been waiting patiently beneath every desire, every wound, every longing. And that truth is this: you were never separate from what you seek. Not for a moment, not in your deepest sorrow, not in your greatest fear. The connection was never broken, only forgotten, like clouds mistaking themselves for the sky. But the sky remains vast and untouched, even as the storm rages through. So too does your divine essence remain undiminished by your past, unshaken by your doubts, unaffected by how long it has taken you to remember. Eternity is not in a rush. Love is not keeping score. The divine is not waiting at the end of your transformation. It is pulsing in every breath of your becoming. When you let go of becoming someone and simply allow yourself to be what you are, you do not diminish, you radiate. You do not lose direction, you come into alignment. You stop asking life to validate you because you realize you are the validation. There is no higher authority than your own inner knowing, no scripture more sacred than your own soul's whisper, no temple holier than the moment you close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and feel the presence that needs no name. And yes, you will still fall, you will forget, you will doubt, but now you will return quicker. Not because the path is easier, but because the resistance is gone. You stop fighting yourself. You stop judging the process. You allow each wave to pass without attaching to it, knowing the ocean beneath is still you. And in that ocean lives a quiet power, a power not born from control, but from communion, not from force, but from flow. You become like the moon, effortless in its pull, needed by none, yet illuminating all. You become like the seed, trusting the darkness, knowing that even unseen, it is still becoming something holy. This is the way of divine remembrance. It does not shout, it sings. It does not demand, it invites. It does not imprison you in ideals, it liberates you into essence. And in that liberation, something sacred returns to your eyes, a softness, a clarity, a deep knowing that says, I remember who I am, and in that remembrance, I see who you are too. Said, the more you remember yourself as an expression of God's love, the more the world around you softens, not because it changes, but because your gaze no longer demands it to be different. Your love no longer waits for worthiness. Your presence no longer clings to outcomes. You have touched eternity, and it has changed how you walk. You begin to bless everything, not with words, but with awareness. You bless the messiness, the uncertainty, the unspoken prayers. You bless the ones who cannot yet see, because you remember what it was like to be blind. And in your remembering, you become the mirror that helps others remember too, not by preaching, but by being. There is no sermon more powerful than a soul at peace, no doctrine more healing than a presence rooted in love. You become the answer you are always looking for, not in theory, but in embodiment. And so you walk, not to escape life, but to meet it deeply. You speak not to be heard, but to share the vibration of your truth. You love not to fill a void, but to express what you are, what you have always been. The journey is no longer about becoming better. It is about becoming real, becoming whole, becoming home. And home is not a destination. It is the place within you that never stopped loving. You are not who you were when this remembering began, not because you added anything new, but because you dropped what was never yours. You stopped carrying the weight of worthiness, the armor of expectations, the veil of pretending, and what is left is the real you. The ancient, luminous, formless presence that has always been silently watching, patiently waiting, endlessly loving. You see now with new eyes, not because the world has changed, but because you have become the change. The mirror is clean, the fog is lifted. And what you see when you look deeply is not the brokenness of the world, but its aching beauty, its holy becoming, its constant, sacred, imperfect unfolding. You begin to honor your scars, not as flaws, but as fingerprints of your journey. You begin to thank the pain, not because it was right, but because it awakened what comfort could not. You begin to see that even the silence was speaking, even the detours were direction, even the endings were beginnings dressed in disguise. And now, from this place of stillness, this inner altar where no one else needs to approve, what do you see? You see the face of God in everything, in your reflection, in a stranger's kindness, in the rhythm of your own breath. You see that love was never something you needed to find. It was what you were made of. It was your origin. It is your destination. And it is your every step along the way. So now you rise, not as someone who has completed a journey, but as someone who has merged with it. There is no more division between the seeker and the sought. You are no longer walking toward the light. You are the light walking, you are the love unfolding, you are the presence blooming into form with every sacred breath. There is no final act here, only a continual becoming, a never-ending unfolding of divine remembrance. You do not close this chapter, you live it, you breathe it, you become it. And in becoming it, you become the invitation for others to remember too. You do not need a title. You do not need a stage. Your life is the teaching. Your stillness is the sermon. Your kindness is the scripture. Your presence is the prayer. And so, beloved soul, as you leave these words, may you never leave this truth. You are not separate. You are not lacking. You are not lost. You are the divine expressing itself in human form. God is love, and you are an expression of that. Not someday, not after healing, not once you've done enough. Now, always, already, you are home, you are whole, you are holy, and you are free.